intelligence, character, you name it. And I would want him coming to LA to run the show, and then have another young piece, at two, like either Ingram or Simmons. That's what I'd be going for. Um, if I was the Lakers. But alas, we've got Simmons going one to Philly and Ingram going two to the Lakers, and so then this is where it officially gets interesting and juicy, and who knows in this draft. Because now we're at the point that I talked about earlier, where those players 3 through 8, 3 through 10, they're all, overall at least, from the scouts and whatnot, they're all overall kind of on the same projection level, for their abilities and their roles, and what they contribute to a basketball team. So you do kind of need to take into account team need, whereas most people in the NBA draft especially will tell you don't draft for team need, take the best basketball player, and figure it out. It's basketball, guys can move around. I think the way this draft is structured in this part of it, because of that, you do need to use team need at least as a way to weed out, to cut the candidates in half at least, kind of, but from there, there will be a very huge commodity on potential in picks 3 through 8 as well. With the exception of the Boston Celtics, who are sitting at 3, and possibly the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are sitting at 5, because these are two teams in the top 10 of the draft here, top 8 of the draft, I should say, because that's kind of where the line is. Those are the two teams in the top 8 of the draft that have realistic hopes and expectations to compete for a playoff berth next year. So, and the Boston Celtics have tons of picks. Now, they have two more here in the first round. They pick again at 16, and they pick again at 23, and then they've got like 2 or 3 of the first 6 picks in round 2. Like, they are just stacked with picks. Okay, so to me, it makes the most sense if they can't find a trade partner that's willing to offer a veteran for that number 3 pick that they like at an area of need. Like I don't know, let's just throw a freaking name out. Somebody like a Blake Griffin, but obviously not Blake Griffin. But a solid, a Draymond Green, a Klay Thompson, a solid starting, all-star caliber, still in his prime, Jimmy Butler, with Chicago. That's actually, don't be surprised if Chicago and Boston pull off that trade. Chicago moving up to number 3. And then they would take a point guard, because Chicago's draft needs completely changed earlier days. Sorry to jump topic a little bit, but it's still in with that 3. Jeez, yeah, watch out. Boston going to trade with Chicago, moving from 3 to 14, and also getting Jimmy Butler. That's going to happen. And then that is going to result in Chicago drafting point guard Chris Dunn, number 3 overall, because earlier today they traded former MVP point guard Derrick Rose to the New York Knicks for one of the Lopez brothers, Jose Calderon, some other dude whose name didn't ring a bell, and like a future second-round draft pick or something. So New York, by also, in the same token, is not in the first round. They don't have a pick in the first round of this year's draft at all. So that was a great move for them, and way to address an area of need that they feel they have, with the restriction of not having a pick in the first round of the draft, which would be high if they had one, because they stunk. They've probably got Boston's. They probably would be picking 3rd, but they made some trade with Boston, and that's why Boston is picking 3rd. Because I'm pretty sure standings-wise, the pick that Boston got is the 16 pick. I'm pretty sure all the other ones, the 3 and the 23, were from trade. Okay, so because I wasn't prepared for this, I didn't realize it till right now, and because I really don't want it to happen, I'm just going to clarify that For the record, I do think this is going to happen. I do expect Boston and Chicago to make a trade involving picks 3 and 14 and Jimmy Butler, amongst a few other things, to round out the deal. But because I really don't want that to happen, and hopefully because maybe the Bulls are committed to Butler being their guy, wanting to have some kind of veteran presence in his prime in that backcourt, or playing at 2 or 3, wherever they put him, along with, whoever's going to be running the show now at point guard. They have no idea. But what the Bulls did is created a need at point guard. But there are plenty of point guards that, they can find a way to get via trade, whether it be in the draft or with other teams' veterans, Ricky Rubio, or what have you. So we'll stick with Boston being unable to part with the third pick. It's just the teams are going to find that they're not going to be able to make the deal, even though they desperately want to. So they are basically going to be choosing from 3 people, in my opinion. They will be choosing between shooting guard / small forward Jaylen Brown, power forward Marquise Chris, and power forward / center Dragan Bender. Now, if it was me personally, this is a no-brainer. You draft the guy named Dragan Bender. I mean, his name's Dragan Bender, okay? I've got to assume, and I don't know how this exactly translates to wins on a basketball court, but I've got to assume that if this guy's name is Dragan Bender, he has the ability to bend dragons somehow, which, that's pretty impressive, or he's some sort of sarcastic, smart mouth robot who can fly and breathe fire. Either way, pretty freaking sweet deal. But this Dragan Bender kid, he's from Europe, I want to say Croatia. He's 7'1", 18 years old, power forward / center, and everybody copycats. People saw what happened with Kristaps Porzingis in New York last year and how good he did. Dragan Bender is very similar in comparison to Kristaps Porzingis, maybe to Dirk Nowitzki a little bit, but maybe a little more physical and not quite as good of a shot as Nowitzki, but just tons and tons of talent and potential, and really, no red flags other than the inexperience, being over in Europe and being so young. But that's why, to me, it makes perfect sense if you're the Boston Celtics, who don't have a need at point guard or shooting guard, or one of your 2 bigs. You're basically looking at a power forward or center, whatever. You don't want Sullinger to play next year, assuming he's healthy and continues to develop. And then a small forward maybe to move Crowder to your 6-man, providing some offense off of the bench. But so to me, the way things are likely to play out with Boston not being able to trade it, it makes the most sense for them to take Dragan Bender. They've got 16 and 23 and a bunch in the second that they can all package together to move higher than 16 yet and get a second person that can, come in and play more now right away while Bender is given more time to develop. And this draft is deep with a lot of size as you get picks 9 through 20, 9 through 30, which, it just, to me, it makes the most sense that the Boston Celtics, unable to trade out of the 3 spot, select power forward / center Dragan Bender. If Boston does not take him, he's the hot name, okay? He could go 3 to Boston. He could go 4 to Phoenix. He could go 5 to Minnesota. If Chris Dunn is gone and Dragan Bender is still available, that is the right pick for the Minnesota Timberwolves at 5. A front court of Bender and Towns, interchanging them however you want to offensively and defensively at the 4 and 5 positions, because they can both do both exceptionally well, assuming that Bender becomes what he's capable of from what we're hearing. Those are the 2 guys you're looking at number 5 if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves. If both Dunn and Bender are gone at 5, if you're the Timberwolves, then there's only two other candidates, and honestly, I would recommend trading out. And getting a veteran of some kind at an area of need, if that's the case, or stockpiling for the future, or just doing something other than reaching on, a player who we've seen fail more than once here already in the Minnesota Timberwolves, and then another player who might be that exact same thing or might not have a position that he can really play, or who knows what. That being Buddy Hield and Jamal Murray, respectively. But anyway, in my mock, I have Boston staying put, taking the player with the most upside, most talent, and best team fit. And it makes the most sense. They're already a playoff team. They don't need to use that number 3 pick on someone who can come in and help them right away. They need to use that number 3 pick on somebody who has the potential to become a superstar. Because this is, when you're a playoff team now, assuming that you keep it together and continue to make the playoffs, this is the last time you're going to be picking this high in a draft. So you better go get who you want with that 3rd pick. Trade up if you really want Ingram or Simmons, and go get them. This is the last chance you'll have to get a guy like that. But I have them going Bender. So that moves us to number 4, where the Phoenix Suns are on the clock. They also have multiple picks. They're picking again at 13 already. And then again at 28. Again, if I were them, I would package 28 and 13 and move up to 10 or 9, something like that. Make sure to get the guy we want and, try to make sure to be a solid 2 for 2 as opposed to, we'd rather have 3 lottery tickets with a lower percentage for 2 of them to pay out than having just 2 lottery tickets but having a higher percentage for both of them to pay out. Like, come on, you gotta think smarter. You gotta think like Scotty Ball, okay? But so Phoenix, again, a team that could look to trade up or down, or sideways, get rid of their pick entirely and bring in a veteran from some other team who's looking for, a young future building piece in the top 5 of a draft. But I have the Phoenix Suns definitely needing help at the forward position. Again, they're another one of those teams, their center position's kind of set, and it's not all that important in today's NBA. Their backcourt is fairly set. They're 3 deep, point guard through shooting guard. And, but they could look to trade one of those guys too, and then that would change their draft needs, and they could, open up a possibility for a Kevin Dunn, or Chris Dunn, Marquise, Chris Dunn, a Jamal Murray, a Buddy Hield, something like that. But I have the Phoenix Sun taking the player who, now that Bender's off the board, is the other consensus most potential, highest ceiling, most skill, most talent, but also risk development thing, stuff like that. I have them taking power forward Marquise Chris going to the Phoenix Suns. And that leaves the Minnesota Timberwolves on the clock, picking at number 5, and they're not even entertaining trade offers at this point. They are running up to, they might be entertaining trade offers, but it's not for the pick number 5. They are running up to the podium. They have 2 needs to address, okay? Point guard and someone else on the front court with Big Cat, whether it be center or power forward, because a lot of people just want to lock Big Cat in right now as the 5. I really think he's more suited to thrive as the 4 on this team. And I also think you want to minimize the dirty work that he has to do down low so that he can spend his energies and focus on, more offensive side of the floor things. So that's why, to me, you've got to go with, a power forward or center who can play big and dirty and be a presence, or an all-around, both a 4 and 5, like Big Cat, okay? So one of those 2 big types of big guys, there's 2 types of big guys, or a point guard, okay? Look at the teams that Thibodeau has coached on. I still think it's Thibodeau. But look at the teams that Thibodeau has coached on. I'm just going to say it that way. And had success, okay? He was an assistant coach on the championship, Boston Celtics, point guard Rajon Rondo. His head coaching success came with MVP point guard Derrick Rose with the Chicago Bulls. Okay,